Watch Dogs. We're on Xbox Series X taking a look at this now FPS boosted original title. So yeah, this one kind of has a history of really kind of under-delivering and underperforming when it came to the general release of the experience. They kind of improved things, but yeah, still quite a bit rough. But now we're back and we have a FPS boost. So what we're getting here is 792p with auto HDR support, which actually looks quite wonderful visually within the world, and 60 FPS, which is just applied by default. So you can just enjoy that higher frame rate. It feels significantly smoother and a lot better to play. There doesn't appear to be any issues, it just runs smoothly. And yeah, this is kind of exciting because I never thought we'd get to play this at a high frame rate on the console. it's really a world of difference, because we saw Watch Dogs 2 get the frame rate boost beforehand, which I thought was really neat. And now we have Watch Dogs 1 being able to kind of experience that. It just feels a lot better and adds a nice level of kind of realism and movement to it. I think that is just fantastic, whether you're driving around, walking on foot, getting into shootouts. It really does feel significantly better, which is awesome. And I mean, the frame rate and stuff, it's just absolutely incredible. Upgrade wise, it really adds a lot to the game. Now, it is still definitely like rough looking visually. It's definitely not the prettiest of experiences. It's very, very jagged around the edges, but it's still kind of a really neat game, and it's a great time to kind of take a look at it. If you've never experienced what Watch Dogs has to offer, this original experience is a lot more moody and dark and, a bit more, I guess you could say, not creepy, but it definitely leaned into the elements of like a watching society, I think, a lot better than the later ones, because they're a little bit more joke-oriented, whereas this was very much a serious sort of narrative, especially in regards to the character and the sort of tragic kinds of things he's dealing with. And I think that was quite interesting. It also had different elements that weren't really present in the later Watchdog entries. Just from like basically what you're able to hack in the environment, how you're able to manipulate certain things. This one felt very ambitious for its time. A lot of Ubisoft titles were right off the bat, which is kind of interesting. Oh, sorry, my bad. Oh crap. Yep. Sorry. It's kind of a sad reaction thing from her. Yeah, and then you get your smartphone with all your different abilities. And then you've got all these other elements to it. It's really, really quite interesting title-wise, just in regards to what you're doing. And the combat and all that, which I think we're going to cause a little bit of mayhem in a sec here. But yeah, you can kind of like, you're hacking the environment. You're using this to kind of solve like puzzles, and then you get into fights. And I think I've done mostly everything that's present within this game, which was an issue last time. But we're coming down here to just sort of, kill civilians and also get an idea of just how everything is running. So hopefully the civilian killing, this guy's actually a really good character. He's not a bad guy. We're just shooting at folks just to kind of get the the cops and stuff running over here, so that we have somebody to kind of shoot and compete against. But it's definitely one of those early gen Ubisoft titles in regards to like the movement, what you're doing in the game. I really found the hacking elements to be quite fascinating and really fun to dive into. And there is a nice layer of complexity within the game too, when it comes to how you're able to hack things, the buildings you can go into. I mean, it doesn't look, it's fairly rough visually, it honestly is, but it still has a nice little level of quality to it. Like, this was definitely a very cool sort of next-gen experience at the time when it was coming out. I was like, oh wow, this feels, really advanced. This is a really cool type of game. And by today's standards, it obviously, isn't quite at that level, but it's still really, really quite cool. And you get a really neat character as you're going around basically causing mayhem, hacking the area, trying to get to the bottom of things. I'm so sorry, miss. Yeah, getting a bad reputation. But it was cool, you know, a neat environment that you get to kind of visit and go around at a decently sized city location with an outside spot, some collectibles and things to do, you know, different activities, different games, sort of like passive online stuff. I remember actually doing a fairly popular video for this one that was about how to do co-op with others online, because it's a bit weird how that's handled. It's not like a pure sort of cooperative experience, if that makes sense. It's very, very strange. Anyways, aside from that being handled weirdly, it's just kind of really awesome to be having an excuse to come back into Watch Dogs, this first one here. Because I didn't, you know, it wasn't that long ago that I checked this one out in order to see how it was, you know, running on the platform and stuff. So to have an excuse already to be back is kind of nice. And I mean, it kind of really is quite cool in that regard. It feels incredible, especially the driving. Like, the driving feels infinitely better to kind of be floating around on. But so does, like, combat and being on the ground and that too, right? You really kind of have the intensity of, like, the shooting and that. It's a lot of open world games, you know, when they came out last generation. All 30, right? And now we're finally able to go back and have, like, a much, much better experience, which I think is nice. Like, this is just such an upgrade over that original, and it feels like, you know, the level of fluidity makes a huge difference on this one, at least I think so. In regards to the quality of the environment, don't wreck that nice car. And it just seems to be perfectly running. I don't notice any sort of hiccups or anything like that, which I guess is almost kind of just expected for these FPS boosted games at this point. They've really done some amazing things. Although I'm neutralizing myself, jeez, I'll like set this thing on fire. I will note that when the fog stuff comes up, and I don't believe this is actually in effect, it gets like really pixelated resolution wise, so it's kind of interesting to think about when we're looking at this. I'm so sorry, civilian. I don't think we can go down that way. Yeah, no, we gotta go this way. Watch out, jogger, you could get attacked. But you know, it's got a bit of like a GTA system in it and stuff, and the later entries really do different things with it. The second one's a lot more of a, I want to say like a hipster fun kind of thing, whereas the third one, which is Legions, kind of goes back to a, well, slightly more serious tone, but at the same time is very like jokey in its setup and stuff. It's just wild to still be playing, I guess, Watch Dogs all these years later too, because I assumed I was, you know, doing my initial coverage of it because I bought it back in the day. And then I kind of assumed I'd just be, like, sort of done with it. But alas, here we go. We get to keep on having excuses and reasons to jump back into Watch Dogs and see what it has to offer. I think these cops actually are quite aggressive, so I'm going to have to be a little bit careful. Disrupted helicopter! I don't know, they're doing their best. I'm just causing problems for them, obviously, because, you know, that's what I do. I don't believe them. They work for the Cetos. They work for the Cetos network. I don't know. It's got a cool variety of different areas. I think if you were to try out the story for the first time, you actually might really like the vibe it has going on in regards to, like, you know, the character. And again, some of the, like, the tragic sort of elements that befall this particular character. I think they had a lot of fun with that. Not in a good way, but a sort of a grim way that you don't see really represented in too many games, if that makes sense. I don't know how to kind of tiptoe around certain elements of it, but, you know, it's definitely not the happiest of story experiences. Wow, you guys are... Whoa! Double whoa! And it looks so cool seeing all of the explosions and fire and stuff. It just feels so fluid. I think I'm gonna die. I got Watch Dogged, and it loads way faster too, which is nice. See, look at this, I'm right back in, like literally no time at all, which is kind of wild. It's just crazy to see such an improvement in a short time, right? Like technology wise, not only in terms of like, you know, just this game compared to other games, but having this frame rate that I did ever expect we'd see at this title. like it just like the thought of it never once crossed my mind because I just assumed it wasn't going to happen. Also funny, I got like I think one of my 2 YouTube strikes that I've had over my career on this one when I was streaming it back in the day when the streams weren't very well set up for games. When music played and stuff, it just totally like striked you out, and that it was due to the radio in the game, and I was so like, I was pretty freaked out about it. I was like, really? Huh, that's weird. The other one was for Connect Fitness, or Xbox Connect Fitness, which is kind of funny to think about. But yeah, you get to view these streets. It's got the day, the night, cycling. It's kind of a really cool experience. It really is, as you sort of go through this world where things are, kind of messed up, and you're almost fighting back against it basically by yourself. You get like a tech kind of person, but it really is this character trying to do a little bit of everything, and playing a little on the line of being not necessarily the best of individuals to kind of perhaps handle the situation, but the one available at this time. And it's kind of moody too, with like the cinematic elements and stuff, so you might find that interesting. I think there's actually like a graveyard up at the top here. It's just really fascinating to see how much we've come in a not too long amount of time when it comes to like even improvements to just the Watch Dogs experience. The later ones, how much better they are in mechanics and stuff like that. I mean, obviously this one has some really impressive destructible elements, obviously, and neat hacking things that you don't really see in the other ones, but still, it's definitely been upgraded upon. But that fluidity, it's nice. I think once we get the Legion's update drop, we're going to be enjoying just a smooth 60 across all of the games. And that's kind of exciting to think about, I suppose you could say, if you are a Watch Dogs fan, or kind of been curious about the series. You can almost now fully and properly enjoy what it has to offer, and it's gonna feel really good. I mean, it's definitely a bit rough around the edges, that's for sure. I'm definitely being very clear in that regard. Like it's it's got some jagged lines and stuff at points, and it's not the smoothest game at this sort of resolution, but it's also kind of expected, I suppose you could say, but not necessarily fully welcomed. Definitely could have used a bit of an upgrade, that's for sure. Yeah, it definitely could have benefited from that, but I'm not complaining too much. I mean, it feels way better than it has ever felt on the console. Like, this feels like such an insane upgrade over what we've come to expect from this series, and in general from consoles and stuff with open world shooter games. I wonder if we're just gonna kind of be like, hey, it's weird that these games don't have 60 now. I hope that becomes somewhat of a thing or something, because it's just strange. Oh, and I love how you can kind of get info on everybody in this place. It's very funny. Ow. Everyone's got a backstory. Everyone's got some kind of weird situation going on. And that's what makes it exciting. Walking down the street and seeing all of the stupid little tales, I find that just hilariously entertaining, but all to their own. I remember going through this place and having to fight folks. That was entertaining. Oh yes, the dam. They actually got some pretty neat open world areas once you get outside the city, right? Yeah, this one kind of cool, kind of running well, and I hope you enjoyed this look at Watch Dogs, just to get an idea of how it's running and everything like that. And it is going a-okay, being a smooth, fun, groovy, fast-paced, and generally fluid sort of time. And that is really awesome to see. And I hope I showed off enough, enough combat stuff, because obviously there is, a few weapons and tools that you kind of use while you're battling other people. And nobody cared who he was until he put on the mask.